right, we're about to get started in just a second, guys. And we are live. How are you doing? Vitaly Dubin is here, founder and creator of Bitcoin's Pulse Club system, where we are helping people become crypto millionaires. And I'm super excited to share with you yet again another episode of our Today in Crypto show, covering what is going on with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrencies, what's going on in the market. You know, this is the internet of money. Bitcoin is the money of the internet, is the today's modern digital gold. It has so many use cases for that, for trans-border transactions, and you know, it's simply a matter of time when this next big run-up, when the next bull market is going to happen. So today I'm going to cover some news of where I see Bitcoin is going, as well as what is the state of ICOs. There's a new research coming up that came out showing what happened to ICOs since the moment they have raised money, and whether they're listed on the exchange or not. So we're going to cover that. So let's take a look at the current market. We are at $254 billion right now, which is slightly higher than it was yesterday. Bitcoin is trading right now at about $6,400, a little slight change to the positive from the last 24 hours. So is Ethereum, Ripple. As you know, the market is very volatile. So right now Bitcoin is trading, you know, somewhere between the $6,000 and the $6,800. I don't know if you can see this chart over here. I'm going to move it a little bit to the left. Hold on a sec. Yeah, you're not able to see. Maybe like this. Okay, now it's better. 6,000 to 6,800. The RSI is shown at 45% at the moment. And I can show you here, if we move this a little bit, it's about 45%. So we are seeing this, you know, kind of like not too much volatility happens, you know, a couple $100 here and there, plus minus. So the volume is not that high as well. If Bitcoin is going to fall at below $5,000, I'm going to be concerned. There's a lot of in big investors that will definitely jump in on the $5,000 level, but you know, currently we have more chances of it hitting towards the 6,800, and when we break that level of 6,800 and then past the 7,000, I'm going to be more bullish on the short term. But can Bitcoin be seen as a $60,000 by the end of the year? According to 10x co-founder of 10x, Julian Haas, that was interviewed by CNBC, he is saying that it's still possible to reach $6,000 by the end of the year. And if we are going to have Bitcoin trading at $10,000 and above in August, there is some good chances that we are going to be on track, right? There are some chances, especially with if there'll be some very, very positive news for Bitcoin, like on a country level, or we also are obviously going to see institutional investors come in. It's all over the YouTube, the news, the social media, everywhere. They talk about that, the ground for the institutional investors to come in, and you know, with their billions of dollars, when that happens, will jump the price for Bitcoin higher. So you need to keep that in mind, right? The big decline for Bitcoin since December was due, a lot of it was due to the futures. The futures market that launched with CBOE in December, and allowed people to bet and short Bitcoin essentially with their contracts, saying, I bet that Bitcoin price is going to be down from that and be traded lower than that, and that's how they win those contracts in the futures market. So that definitely had an effect on Bitcoin this year. But if we are going to fail to reach $6,000, it will definitely take a little bit longer to reach that point. Okay, so we'll see about the $10,000. This is a psychological level for Bitcoin. If we're going to pass that in August, I'm surely hope they will. And Ethereum is also not stopping. The Joseph Lubin, the founder of blockchain software Consensus, and who is working on one of the platform's founders of Ethereum, is they're definitely in the works. There's a lot of developers working on keep developing Ethereum with several projects from Casper to Sharding to the Plasma solution for increasing the transactions, and they're working towards tens and hundreds of thousands of transactions per second to build new infrastructure levels, right? So that's very, very good news for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So overall, we see some coins, that are trading at 7, 8, 9% at this market. And of course, we have those big gainers. A new one is Coupon Coin with only $111,000 in volume, which is considered very small cap coin, very, very small cap, but it's only $0.000125 per coin. So it's going to be interesting to check it out. 224% increase. So even if you put like $100, right, you can turn $100 into $300 with Coupon Coin in the last 24 hours. So that's the exciting world of crypto we're living. Now, moving up, the ICOs, what I want to discuss today in the crypto show, this ever fascinating topic of ICOs, initial coin offerings, when new coins are being brought into the market. So according to the new academic research that has been concluded, 50% of crypto projects raising capital through ICOs don't make it through the 5th month. So they stop after 4 months after the token sale, and they have measured the success based on the Twitter activity. If there was complete silence on Twitter, then they concluded the project is dead, so to speak, right? Interesting studies reveal the correlation between like different ICO projects and their survivability based on how much, not just how much capital they raised, but whether they raised enough capital or not. That's first of all, right? If the company have failed to raise capital, their survival is very little, only 17%, right? If they raise capital but fail to get listed on the trading exchanges, then less than 50%, 48% of ICOs didn't make it until 4 months, right? Because they have not been listed on the exchange and failed to create this adoption and more of an activity within the coin. And a whopping 83%, which is way better, survived and remain active after 5 months after they got listed into the exchange. So they raised the money and got listed onto the exchange. So that's the first thing. Like, if the ICO will be listed on the exchange, and that, right, with a high likelihood of it happening, the survivability of the token rises significantly, right? So the estimated survival rate of the startups 120 days after the end of the sale was only 44.2%. The report covered almost 2,400 ICOs and examined over 1,000 Twitter accounts. And here is also the conclusion. So not only listing increasing chances of survival, but also if we take a look at overall the ICO industry, 179%, that was the average return based on all of the projects. Coming from 4,000 ICOs since January 2017, so year and a half, raising $12 billion during the last year and a half, 4,000 ICOs. And that was in the first 16 days of the last day of the ICO, that return, okay? And they also concluded that it is the most sane and safest strategy to sell your ICO tokens when you hold them on the first day when it's got listed on the exchange, because that's typically what happens when it gets listed on the exchange, a lot of the investors that have been holding the bags, so to speak, the ICO tokens, right? They have been waiting for this event, so finally to get listed onto the exchange, and they are selling a lot of those tokens on the first day, so the price drops. So you don't want to miss that. Typically, it's a good idea to sell the majority, if not all, of your tokens on the first day, or at least in the first 30 days. Okay, the first 30 days of the project. That's concluding all the study based on all the ICOs since January 2017. So that's a good strategy. Of course, if you believe in the project long term, hold on to those tokens longer. But for the most part, it is safest to sell either in the first day or at least in the first months since the token is listed on the exchange, because stuff can happen. It can be delisted from the exchange. Lots of things can go wrong during this time. Okay, so that's this study. Now, moving on, we have this article from Stiglitz and Rogov and Rubini. The three world-renowned economists are claiming that Bitcoin will fail long-term after government will regulate. And I, of course, disagree with their views on what they're thinking about this. But what they believe, Bitcoin will fail long-term once governments really start to regulate the technology. So those Nobel Prize winners, they're criticizing Bitcoin anonymity, stating it was a contradiction to its pledge of creating transparent banking system. But isn't really that anonymous? I mean, Amazon can find a way how to track and link those transactions on the blockchain to the actual people using those transactions. So it's not as anonymous for Bitcoin as they're saying it is. And they say Bitcoin is not an accepted Bitcoin conference. How can someone that fall 20% one day and then rise 20% the next be a stable store of value? Well, it's not really falls 20% in a day and rise 20% the next day. The volatility is way lower than that. We've seen in the last several weeks Bitcoin actually trading, a couple $100 points up and a couple $100 points below, right? So it's not that much of a volatility as they describe. And because they say that hype is passing and having no intrinsic value will be worth around $100 in about 10 years. Well, how can you say that there is no intrinsic value to Bitcoin when you can basically, nobody can stop you from doing payments worldwide? Well, a lot of the other firms, the companies or Western Union or whatnot can stop you from making those payments. There's a lot of intrinsic value in that when you can send money, and Bitcoin has been really intended to be used as a currency, not just as a store of value. It is a currency, and people are using it worldwide to make payments wherever they are, whatever country they are. If I go to Russia and I want to use my Bitcoin in order to drive on a taxi there in Russia, I can do that. A lot of Russian taxis are accepting this form of payment, right? You can go to the Japan and the same thing. I can buy stuff on retail with my cryptocurrency. And it happens more and more and more. Those retail locations for that accepting cryptocurrency are getting higher and higher and higher. The more ATM machines are being built all the time. So again, their arguments are not really valid, and that's that article also kind of criticize their sayings. Those three economists saying nobody can know what can happen in the next decade. We can see Bitcoin either really high, like at $100,000-$200,000 for Bitcoin trading, or not in the next 10 years. And there's a lot of reasons why it can be higher, right, on the higher level scale, because of the scarcity of this asset class. So the future as yet is not as clear and as certain as now. Like, you cannot know what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Now, because China is so like restrictive of its citizens using crypto and crypto trading, and banning crypto trading, because they are basically afraid of lost capital from like yuan, the Chinese currency, leaving the country, and exercising strict capital controls. Okay, that basically have China losing its power, and in terms of their ability to control over the Bitcoin market. Now, they still have the miners, of course, that are 50, 60, 70% are in control of the production of the chips that are being sold worldwide to people who are mining Bitcoin. And they are exercising a policy close to like Google and YouTube. Like, they ban Google, they ban YouTube, so from its Chinese citizens, because they have their own internal YouTube, they have an own internal Facebook, like they have own internal Google like search engine, right? So they encourage the projects that are being produced in China, like Neo or Quantum. They're positive, they're supporting those projects, but not other projects. So that's just the way the Chinese people think. Now, another interesting study, and this is a piece of software that has been developed, basically saying that Bitcoin looks like to end the year around $10,000 if there's not going to be any big positive regulatory news. And essentially, they are taking into consideration two factors: the number of new users that are using Bitcoin, and the average transaction volume for those users, right? So they're taking in effect those two things. As they say, the supply is pretty much over the next 2 years, is stable. So the Bitcoin price movement is going to come from the demand primarily. That's the law of supply and demand. More people demanding Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So with that, they forecast the changes in the number of unique users as well as transaction volumes for each month. And that's what they have charted using their software. They have interactive dashboards for that, and they claim it's almost 95% accurate. So without positive big news in the Bitcoin space, they see Bitcoin trading about $10,000 by the end of the year, which is better than it's trading right now, right? At about $6,400. Another Bitcoin is investors saying Bitcoin is the bet for cryptocurrency investors. So says one of the Wall Street crypto kings. So we're still like this a lot of like we need to bet on Bitcoin, right? We need to bet on Bitcoin. This is the currency of the future, and we can read like they say the same things, right? This guy also is saying about 3 things that he needs to see in order for Bitcoin price to go up. Number 1 is security. Number 2 is regulation and accessibility. So from the regulation standpoint, we need to see more clarity in the regulation, like how they see Bitcoin. They don't see it as a security, but how they're going to regulate Bitcoin, how they're going to more supervise its moves. So that's one, regulation. How accessible Bitcoin, how easy it is for people to access Bitcoin. It's still not that simple process for the average person to go and buy Bitcoin. Though, with Coinbase, it's a fairly simple process. They just swipe the credit card and they buy Bitcoin. And security, we need to see less of those hacks going on thefts going on the big exchanges, and improve the security. Like, we don't want to read, oh, somebody robbed my wallet off on an exchange, right? The exchange got hacked, and that's three things that he sees, can turn Bitcoin into a bull run again. And of course, ETFs, and we have another big firm applied for the ETF, exchange traded funds, which is very good news for it if they're going to get accepted. New funds will flow from the institutional investors. And you can see, like, throughout the whole world, there's graffitis like this one I particularly like. Look at this: Bitcoin is prospering, this flower, and goodbye dollars, goodbye yen, goodbye euro, goodbye pounds. That's the revolution on the streets. You can see it in the San Francisco, you can see it in France, fuck the IRS, you can see this is in France, rip the banking systems. This is in Ukraine, Bitcoin is the future for your kids, Wolf of Bitcoin. And this is even in Tel Aviv, where I live, in Israel. Bitcoin is being painted in the graffiti. This is a Czech finance in Czech Republic, UK. So the sentiment, guys, is, people are loving it. People love this technology. People love Bitcoin and crypto, and they're painting it on the streets. And regulators are slowly starting to get it about utility tokens, and they are real. There is a distinction between security and utility tokens, and that needs to be made. And security tokens is more some other cryptocurrencies that have been launched as an ICO. As a result of an ICO, they are considered by US as security, but not Bitcoin and not Litecoin, not Ethereum. And they are classifying those other tokens. A lot of them, they start to recognize those are utility tokens, and they're not going to be regulated in the same way. So it's quite an interesting article to read it. And we are slowly moving into the first phases of the Lightning Network. Finally, we have a new beta group of 100 merchants that are going to trial the network, the Lightning Network. Of course, it's a very early stages and it's still buggy and all of that, but that Lightning Network will allow way faster, way cheaper transactions, and in a sense. So more transactions will be per second for the Bitcoin network, and CoinGate is the pioneer in this, kind of the guinea pig in this space of employing the Lightning Network. Now, what else? We're seeing Opera is the first browser-based browser, basically, that launched its own native crypto wallet. We don't see it in Google Chrome, we didn't see it in Firefox, but we are seeing it Opera, which is awesome. And I think, in some point, Google Chrome will also launch their own native crypto exchange and be way more engaged. Google will be way more engaged in the blockchain technology and possibly launch its own cryptocurrency. We're going to see, but that just makes sense. And Ledger Nano S, wow, Ledger Nano S, guys, the hardware wallet is now looking like Google's and Samsung. They're attracting those big tech giants to look and possibly invest $1 million in profit. If you don't own the Ledger Nano S, I suggest that you get one. Either try the London School of Economics on crypto, and I think that more and more universities are going to adapt and change their curriculums in economics to include cryptocurrency in there and to teach cryptocurrency there. As I was studying economics here in Israel, we of course didn't talk anything about cryptocurrencies. So I think it's a matter of time until more and more universities be patient. Okay, be patient in this market, and take a look at the news. You know, we are not going to stay that in that position, in that condition of the market for forever, right? We're going to see it go up, and as you see right now, $255 billion is going to go way higher to $1 trillion and then more. So we are really just in the beginning phases of this. So pay attention to what is going on today at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have another episode of our another coaching at Crypto Trading Millionaires, teaching you about trading cryptocurrencies profitably and how to take a look at the charts and how to analyze what's going on. It's going to be exciting session. Looking forward to see you guys there. And I'm going to see you in the next videos for the Crypto Daily Show.